just one reminder of the many ways in which our Jewish community is interconnected with the trauma of October 7th and the ongoing war. Rachel, who just carried the Torah, was in the Tiv in the early 90s with Rachel Goldberg, whose son Hirsch Goldberg Poland was taken into captivity and spoke at the march, and whose picture is right now outside the shul. We've been rotating every week 3 new pictures of those who've been taken captive. One that we won't be able to put up is this one. This is Vivian Silver. I didn't know Vivian Silver, though it's possible we've been in the room at the same time, since there was some meaningful overlap between her circles and mine. Vivian was 74 years old and until this week presumed to have been taken hostage into Gaza. 2 other women's bodies were discovered in the vast Shifa hospital complex this week. One was 65-year-old mother of 5, Yehudit Weiss, whose husband Shmulik had been murdered on October 7th and who had been receiving radiation treatment for breast cancer. Weiss worked in the Gan and was beloved by the children of Kibbutz Be'eri. The other was 19-year-old Corporal Noah Marciano from Modi'in. Noah had 3 younger siblings. She loved music and literature. Her mother said that she was a girl of dimples and smiles, a girl of love. Vivian Silver, like Yehudit Weiss, lived on Kibbutz Be'eri, the kibbutz that I visited on day 24 of the war, 3 weeks after 130 people were murdered there in cold blood. After 24 were taken hostage from that one kibbutz, one of whom everyone thought was Vivian. Instead, and unlike Yehudit and Noah, we now know that she was slain in her safe room during the initial rampage. I did not know Vivian Silver, but this week I had to ask Devorah to pull her poster from the pile, and Noah and Yehudit's as well, so that we wouldn't accidentally display them in our rotation. Unlike Rabbi Dana Kirschbaum, who's here with us today, who knew Vivian Silver very well, I did not know Vivian, so I'm not going to eulogize her, but I did try to learn about and from her this week. Vivian's liberal politics, her friendship and partnership with many Palestinian women, her participation in the Road to Recovery project, driving several times a week to the Gaza border, taking Palestinian cancer patients to Jerusalem for treatment. These things meant nothing to Hamas terrorists when they brutally snuffed out her life, along with 1,200 others on October 7th. In fact, their beliefs and actions are in fierce opposition to just about everything Vivian stood for. Certainly the centrality of women's voices and the essentialness of women's leadership. I didn't know Vivian, so I'm not going to try and claim her as people try to do when someone remarkable dies. It's human nature maybe to project our fears, our anger, our aspirations onto others, to pretend that we know who they were, what they would have done if they were us remembering them. So instead of claiming Vivian Silver, I took it upon myself to learn something about her life's work. Among many other things, and there were many other things I've learned, Vivian was a founder of a remarkable organization called Women Wage Peace. I want to read their mission statement to you. It's a little lengthy, but I think it's worth hearing. Because when the guns fall silent, and the survivors of this catastrophe, the ones inclined toward relational justice work as I am, and building a shared society, when we look for a blueprint that could lead to a true and lasting peace, Women Wage Peace's approach may very well be the solution that we've been waiting for. So here's the mission statement. Women Wage Peace is a broad, politically unaffiliated movement which is acting to prevent the next war and to promote a nonviolent, respectful, and mutually accepted solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, with the active participation of women throughout all stages of negotiations. The movement, Women Wage Peace, functions on the basis of 10 principles. 1. All actions serve to further the two goals of the movement: a negotiated agreement ending the Israeli-Palestinian conflict with full participation of women in all aspects of peacemaking, and ensuring security. Thus, members must present a rationale for every activity they wish to include in WWP's yearly program. 2. We refrain from criticism, including criticism of political leaders, and support positive action directed toward negotiation of a peaceful resolution of the conflict. This approach is based on the belief that action to further a political agreement is both possible and beneficial for the future of Israel. 3. We are nonpartisan. The movement's purpose is to create a consensus among the majority of Israeli citizens, regardless of their political affiliations or loyalties, in the belief that we all have common interests, desires, and needs for a peaceful resolution of the conflict. We do not, therefore, support any political party or individual identified with any party, and we do not campaign on behalf of any individual or party. 4. Women lead the movement. Although it is a civil society initiative open to both women and men, we believe that 1, women still remain, generally speaking, a missing cohort in the political arena, and 2, that women's leadership must be actively cultivated, and 3, that women have a unique contribution to make in the creation of a public accord and in the processes of negotiation. 5. Pragmatism is key. WWP is not an ideological movement. Its members reflect diverse ideologies. What is common, however, to all members is the belief that an agreement that is respected and accepted by both sides will meet the diverse needs of Israeli society. Thus, despite members' differences, all are ready, willing, and interested in cooperating in order to reach their common goal. 6. Women Wage Peace recognizes the need for diverse voices and is committed to the idea that the more partners there are in the process of reaching an agreement, the greater the chances of achieving a long-lasting peace that unifies rather than divides. Based on this principle, the movement actively approaches diverse populations in order to understand their needs and reservations in relation to a peace agreement, and the ways in which these groups feel it is best to proceed. WWP does not make use of a single formula or method to interest Israelis in reaching an accord, nor does it try to persuade anyone of a single truth. 7. WWP is a grassroots movement committed to the idea that people tend to join a broad social movement and contribute their time on its behalf not because of the personalities involved, but because of its objectives and principles. In keeping with women's tendency to privilege relationships over abstract notions of justice or hierarchical notions of merit or power, the movement sees all members as equal, with all roles and functions open to all members. Roles which demand more responsibility are rotated based on members' interests, and fulfilling these roles, each member is significant and valued and can be part of the decision-making process. 8. You suggest it, you implement it. I feel like we should do that at that time. With no hierarchy or division between those who suggest and those who implement suggestions, and in order to encourage women to take responsibility and to develop leadership skills, anyone who suggests an idea is expected to implement it with the help of fellow members if it is in keeping with the movement's strategic goals for the year. 9. The movement opposes and condemns all forms of violence, whether physical or verbal. 10. The movement operates within the bounds of the law at all times. One of the things that was striking, if you saw images or video of Vivian Silver's funeral, was the number of Palestinian citizens of Israel who were involved in this movement, work with Jewish citizens of Israel. Ayman Odeh spoke at the funeral of the Palestinian legislator. A remarkable life. As you may have guessed from listening to me over the years and recently, while I despise war, I'm not a pacifist. but I'm a deep admirer of those who use nonviolence to bring about pro-social change. Whether this is a just war, which I believe it is, and whether Hamas's ability to do violence can be neutralized through military action, which I believe it can, a lasting peace between two peoples carrying generations of pain and mistrust cannot be achieved by the sword. At some point, those swords must be beaten into plowshares. And to do that, we need to call on those with extensive experience in the plowshare business. Philosopher Michael Walzer, expert on just war theory, wrote an important piece in The Atlantic recently. Trotsky argued accurately, he said, that terrorists want to make the people happy without the participation of the people. The terrorists, Trotsky continues, mean to substitute themselves for the masses. Some on the left view that ambition as heroic and admire terrorists for that reason. But the politics of substitution, Walzer says, is an authoritarian politics, not a leftist politics, precisely because it does not look for popular participation. Organizations like Women Wage Peace, however, do look for widespread buy-in. Lasting peace work requires those on different sides of any conflict to do two things, at least. First, they must appreciate the essential humanity of their adversary. Second, they must draw on principles that underlie and therefore unite the aspirations of both parties. Maybe it's no coincidence that one of the more inspiring stories circulating this week centered around water. The story of Palestinian and Israeli teens from East and West Jerusalem who swim together at the YMCA. October 7th and the ensuing war drove a wedge between some of those teens. But their shared experiences, the common waters of that swimming pool, brought them back together. Maybe it's for that reason, the life-giving nature of water, that so much of this week's Parsha centers on wells. V'yachpor et be'erot hamayim asher chafru bimei Avraham aviv. Isaac dug anew the wells which had been dug in the days of his father Abraham. The word be'er, well, is the source of the name for kibbutz Be'eri, as well as the nom de plume of Beryl Katznelson, after whose death it was dedicated in 1974. In fact, the name Be'eri even shows up in our Parsha this week. Against his parents' wishes, Esau takes Judith, daughter of Be'eri the Hittite, as a wife. Wells can be a source of tension, as with Esau, and when Avimelech of Gerar, the Philistine king, stops up the wells of Abraham and then chases Isaac from the region of today's Gaza envelope, where Kibbutz Be'eri was founded. Vayomer Avimelech el Yitzchak, lech mi'imanu ki atzamta mimenu me'od. And Avimelech said to Isaac, get away from us, for you have become far too large for us. But wells also are a source of reconciliation. After Isaac is successful in excavating the wells, Avimelech catches up with him. Let there be a sworn treaty between our two parties, between you and us. Let us make a pact with you that you will not do us harm, just as we have not molested you, but have always dealt kindly with you and sent you away in peace. From now on, be you blessed of Adonai. Then he made for them a feast, and they ate and drank. Early in the morning they exchanged oaths. Isaac bade farewell, and they departed from him in shalom, in peace. Wells are also a perfect metaphor for drawing on principles that underlie and unite shared society work. The Hasidic master Rabbi Yehuda Leib Alter of Ger, the Sfat Emet, reminds us the word be'er, well, also means to explain. To dig a well is to come to understand, drawing out life-giving resources from the earth. Rabbi Art Green says Torah comes down to us from above, brought down from the mountaintop. But what of the Torah that our patriarchs knew before that Torah was given? Their Torah flowed from a well, water deep within the earth. The Sfat Emet reminds us, he says, that the first Torah to be discovered is that which lies within. The building up of a just and peaceful society is hard, to be sure. But we have within us the ability to move forward, to swim in a shared pool, to drink from the same wells. Months ago, in one of a number of sermons and teachings I gave expressing solidarity with the pro-democracy protests against this extremist Israeli government, I quoted Michael Walzer from his 1985 book, Exodus and Revolution. It felt relevant then, and in that context, it feels relevant today as we consider this blueprint for a shared future. He wrote, "So pharaonic oppression, deliverance, Sinai, and Canaan are still with us, powerful memories shaping our perceptions of the political world. The door of hope is still open. Things are not what they might be, even when what they might be isn't totally different from what they are. This is a central theme in Western thought, always present, though elaborated in many different ways. We still believe, or many of us do, what the first Exodus taught, or what it has commonly been taken to teach, about the meaning and possibility of politics, and about its proper form. First, that wherever you live, it is probably Egypt. Second, that there is a better place, a world more attractive, a promised land. And third, that the way to that land is through the wilderness. There is no way to get from here to there except by joining together and marching. We cannot go on without a political horizon," Vivian Silver said a few years ago at a Women Wage Peace rally. Whether we're marching or swimming, waging peace requires that horizon thinking. In the fog of war, it's hard to see the horizon, but it's there. And as surely as the sun explodes into the sky each day, peace can be waged, must be waged, as the last best answer to the likes of Hamas and all those who would rob the world deliberately and maliciously of voices calling out for a better future. Shabbat Shalom.